Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines here. We got Bitcoin losses. We're going to talk about it. Hester Peirce is in the news. Crypto.com major license. USD Tether seems to be doubling down. We'll get into it. We got Stellar smart contracts. We're going to want that. We got this. You're going to want all of this. XRP, XLM. I believe we firmly are the next Rockerfellers and Vanderbilts. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at Dig Perspectives at the top of the screen. Everything that we're talking about here today. Give us a follow on TikTok at Digital Perspectives. No space is growing very quickly over there. Lots of exclusive content. Make sure you check it out. 950 billion market cap for crypto right now. We're off 3.4%. June 22nd. Good afternoon, everybody. Bitcoin 20,600 plus, Ethereum 1,100 plus, and we see Cardano at 47 cents, XRP at 32 cents. Very quickly, the range of price, 32 cents for XRP on the bottom and 34 on the top. We'll keep an eye on it. Ledger Nano, everybody. Keep your portfolio, keep your crypto safe. I've got the majority of my holdings on Ledger, and it feels amazing. I'm not even lying. Loving it. Love working with them and love being a customer even more, because with everything that has been happening of late, I feel very good knowing the majority of my holdings are on Ledger cold storage. And you can obviously buy and sell your crypto off of your cold storage wallet now with the actual platform that they have with Ledger as well. So check out that link underneath the video. Take a look at this. Bitcoin investors record losses over $7 billion in recent market sell-offs. The losses range from between $1.5 billion to $2 billion each day. From the data it shows. Long-term holders liquidated over 178,000 Bitcoin at prices below 23,000. The data showed that as well. I tell you, look, you got to be careful in this market, right? And listen, I know I'm deep in here. I have a huge appetite for risk, but make sure that you can stomach these losses in order to feel those massive gains when they do happen. And I'm ready for them too, by the way, So someone could put an email out to the right person. Let's get this party started. Right here, talking about the party started, party not started. It's watching the SEC refuse over the past 4 years to engage productively with crypto users. If we just look at this article, the thing I wanted to point out here, and shout out to Hester Peirce for her candid remarks and things that she says about this space. She's got a lot of courage to say the things she does, knowing she does not have the opinion and support of Gary Gensler as the chair there. However, this article points out what we need to see here. They say they think Commissioner Peirce's argument sidesteps completely what is going on here. It isn't the government's job to decide what level of risk is acceptable for investors. Now, I'm going to say that again, because that is the real problem with Gary Gensler here. I don't have any problem with the second half of this comment, because this is exactly what I believe is the difference between Gary Gensler's leadership and what the SEC should be doing. So again, I say it isn't the government's job to decide what level of risk is acceptable for investors. That's our job. Instead, it is the government's job to ensure that exchanges are safe and secure. That's the job. Thank you very much for the person who wrote this article. That investors are not being intentionally misled and scammed. That exchanges aren't aiding money launderers and terrorist organizations or front running of any kind. Those are the functions of the government. And that's what we need to get these market regulators back to. Crypto.com scores approval outside of the United States from a Singapore finance regulator and one of the major payment licenses is what's happening, or licenses from the country's top financial regulator, and it is a major payment institution. Crypto exchange will get a major payment institution license from the country's financial top regulator. I'm so excited to give you the next couple pieces of this news that you're about to find out that we're the next Rockerfellers and the Vanderbilts. I can't even talk right. I thought this was really great too. I mean, you talk about growth potential here. This is it. This is Kava Networks. Make sure you give them a follow. They're doing all the building and all the necessary things you need to do while we're in this melees of a lack of clarity, and they're crushing it. Protocols are the catalyst for explosive growth in 2022. The average protocol brings $165 million in total value locked, known as TVL, to a network once it deploys. Kava can reach $5 billion in TVL with the 50 protocols committed to deploy this year. And that's a lot of money. Look, Kava's really working hard to get it right. And I tell you, you want to follow them to make sure you can mark their progress. Citibank chooses Swiss firm Mataco for digital asset custody. Not much else to glean here out of the article, so I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but it is good, and it does show an upswing with all the major investment banks out here that want to be in this space, like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, now Citibank offering digital asset custody and some trading as well. So NYDIG to work with Deloitte in offering Bitcoin capabilities to clients. It just keeps on going, ladies and gentlemen, keeps on going. This space is going to be massive when we get some clarity. And this looks like one of those moves here by Tether. It looks to me like they're doubling down and going for the too big to fail trick. We shall see. This is from Michael Val, 5 Links Hall of Famer here. It says the company behind the largest stablecoin market cap will launch another such asset peg to the British pound. Tether to launch a British pound peg stablecoin known as GBPT in July. You know, I tell you, I'm not sure if this helps or hurts at this point. We're going to keep an eye on that one, right? That's one to keep an eye on, I tell you. You guys know how I feel about that. Smart contracts coming to Stellar this year? Well, take a listen and find out.
When Stellar was designed back in 2014, the idea was do a relatively narrow set of things really, really well. Do asset issuance and payments really well. And that served us great for those 8 years. But we've come to realize that we need to add smart contracts. And so we actually are doing that. So by the end of the year, Stellar will have smart contracts. But it's really important to us that we do it in a way that's very true to our mission of trying to bring equitable access to the financial system. So in particular, we're designing it in a way where activity on the smart contract side will not increase fees exorbitantly on the payment side.
That's a big deal. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Brace yourself. We got a lot more to look at. You remember Judy Shelton, the gold bug, that really entertained the notion of some kind of a bridge between the gold and the money, some kind of digital asset in between there? Well, let's get a little love for Judy Shelton right here before we start this next segment.
What's up, fam? Calling on the Army to protect our beloved Judy Shelton. She's brave, she's classy, she's a delight. And she's always good, like Grandma's cookies. She's out here calling for nominal anchors. She wants a reliable measure of account to ensure there's stable money. She's calling for a level monetary playing field with a rules-based approach. And even though her southern twang makes me weak, there are global players out there that do not want the people to know how a gold standard, whatever it may be, can help free the world and prevent this from happening again. We love you, Judy. We got your back. Bring in the gold and sprinkle it everywhere.
Shout out to Mr. Intuitive on that one. And talking about sprinkling the gold, listen to this clip here. Shout out to DAI on this one. This is Jim Rickards, and I've got some extremely powerful stuff for you to see after this.
But I think that was world money. They can print it. A lot of people don't realize, I'm enough of a geek, I've actually read the Articles of Association of the IMF, including the provisions related to SDRs. well, not everyone, but people know in general they can issue it to the members. So the 189 members of the IMF, they all get their share, but they get shares pro rata based on their capital contributions, which means the United States gets the biggest share of a new issue of SGR. This is printed money. It's just printed world money is what it is. The U.S. gets the biggest share. Query if we actually need it versus countries in Africa, they get a tiny little sliver. So they have secondary market trading. One of the interesting things they did issue recently in Russia got a decent sized share. And everyone's like, well, we hate Russia. It was like, well, sorry, they're IMF members and they got their bid. Look, this has got a lot of momentum. It feels like 2 or 3 years. Because once the central bank digital currencies come on, I mean, you can't get rid of something until you have a replacement.
Yeah, sure.
And so once the central bank digital currencies come on stream, we're close. Some of them are already out, and we're close on others. And the more people have iPhones than bank accounts, but you won't need a bank account because you'll have your smartphone. Yeah. And so you got 2 steps. Number 1, get everybody in the world a smartphone. We're pretty close to that. Yeah. And number 2, get the central bank digital currencies rolled out. We're close to that. When those 2 things are done, they'll eliminate cash.
When those 2 things are done, they'll eliminate cash. Well, let me tell you something. What will be the winners? Well, let's hear Jim Rickards as we go back in time for a second. And let's listen to this clip about what will be the winners when it comes to value protocols. Jim Rickards is going to break that down and take away the confusion out of that. We're going to hear from David Schwartz, too.
We're going to have a decentralized system that a community can validate, and we don't have to rely on anybody in particular. That was the original idea. So the question is, what's your method of validation? And that's what distinguishes one blockchain from the other. So I've listed 4 of them here, but there are others. Proof of work, that's what blockchain uses. And you know what the work is? You got to like factor these, 87-digit prime numbers into prime factors. It's a lot of computer crunching, completely clunky, completely inefficient, non-sustainable. I'll talk about that in a second, but that's Bitcoin. There's something else called proof of stake, meaning you actually, this is what Ether is based on, you demonstrate that you have a certain percentage of the processing power, so you step up based on your stake. There's proof of space. Space is storage space on a hard drive, so I get to vote on the blockchain. I get to vote on validating the blockchain because I've decided to devote a certain amount of my hard drive to that process. There's a new coin called Space Mint. And then there's the Byzantine Agreement, or Byzantine Agreement. There's a version of that called the Federated Byzantine Agreement, which I personally think is the best.
The XRP ledger is different because its core consensus mechanism is different.
Much more robust to some of the problems we're talking about, and there are others. But the point is, don't talk about blockchain. Say, okay, what's your governance model? What's your validation model, et cetera? And then ask yourself, is that sustainable? Is that robust? Will that resist an attack? Are your cryptocurrencies going to be stolen? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. And I
want to talk a little bit.
And now you're going to hear David Schwartz talk about CBDCs and the private ledger that they have for central banks. But that Federated Byzantine Agreement is exactly what the XRP ledger uses. Keep listening.
About CBDCs because I'm very, very excited about them. And I'll talk about some of the naysayers. So our CBDC private ledger enables central banks to create a private parallel network for permission blockchain to issue the CBDC on. So, for those who may not know, a central bank digital currency. We're talking about central banks issuing, the country's primary fiat asset on a private blockchain. And this is extremely important. If you look an enterprise payment system, SWIFT, for example, you'll see stories all the time about sort of compromises of the SWIFT system where somebody sort of gets through SWIFT's outer layer of defenses and then they can compromise the system from the inside. Blockchains don't have that problem. If you think about the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum, the XRP ledger, all of these blockchains have billions of dollars moving around them, and they simply don't have those types of security problems because they don't have a central database you have to defend. They don't have a central party. They don't have the security vulnerabilities. So this is big. And building using blockchain technology can make these systems more open without sort of having that security problem. And the next question I hear is, well, so what? We already have digital money. So if we build these CBDC systems, why don't we just have the same? Most people who have money don't have physical bills or coins in their pocket. But this is a major first step in providing central banks with a secure, controlled, and flexible solution for the issuance of digital currencies to enable global interoperability. So what does that mean? Imagine every major institution in the world, and I mean every major institution in the world, able to settle every major asset. That's dollars, that's rupees, that's euros, that's Japanese yen, you name it, with every other institution in a compatible jurisdiction. You're not going to see, U.S. banks settling with North Korean banks, obviously. So again, every major institution in the world settling every major fiat asset with every major institution in a compatible jurisdiction in seconds for pennies or fractions of a penny. I mean, how is that not mind-blowing? Every institution in the world can move every fiat asset to every other institution in the world in seconds for a penny, as long as the jurisdictions are legally compatible. How is that not an incredible big deal? That can happen when the systems are independently secure and interoperable. That is a very big deal. So you can hold, transfer, receive, and trade a number of assets with transactions that cost much less than a penny and fully confirm in less than 10 seconds. XRP Ledger's hyper-efficiency and liquidity enables developers globally to support numerous use cases, from DeFi, payments, consumer applications. And you don't need anybody's permission to interact with the XRP Ledger, right? It's a public good.
It is a public good. And the reason that the central banks are building on top of it with that private ledger to launch their CBDCs is because it is the Federated Byzantine Agreement that is used on that XRP ledger, as well as many other attributes. And I tell you, now we're going to take a look at this clip that was just shared just a short time ago from Digital Asset Investor here. Shout out to him. And you are going to see in this what I believe confirms that we are on the right path. We are on the right track. We have picked the right one to get behind, and not financial advice, but this is my digital perspective that I'm getting from this information today, that this confirms even further that we're watching yet another piece of information and evidence prove that another central bank is building on top of the XRP system. Check it out.
So I'm on Mojaloop's YouTube channel, and I'm watching this video, and watch this next slide when it comes up.
That will potentially entail. But I'm now going to pass it over to...
Okay, it's called Payment Hub as Gateway Component. It's got Mojaloop right here, but look at the bottom, and it's kind of blurry. But the way I read that, it says source, I think that says Exolab, developments in India with, I can't read that, but it says connected to a private XRP-based system, similar design for stablecoins and CBDCs.
There you have it right there, ladies and gentlemen. You see why that legislation's so critical for them to get that done at the end of this year? I don't give a damn if that's India they're talking about or some other country. It all starts with the foundation of regulated, licensed and regulated stablecoins that are approved, and central bank digital currency CBDCs. That's what we're talking about here. And I believe you have to ask yourself, if we get that kind of stablecoin regulation at the end of the year, the way Senator Gillibrand has said, then you have to ask yourself, what does it all run on? Well, we already know, at least in India, what it runs on, and Republic of Palau and Bhutan. Now take a look at this as we catch up very quickly with SEC and the Ripple case. Very quickly here, SEC versus Ripple case. The defendants request that the response to the SEC's opposition in the Amici motion be filed publicly. Judge Torres is giving the SEC a chance to propose its own redactions to the defendant's response by tomorrow. And there is the letter for that. I'm not going to read it to you. You get it. So they have tomorrow to answer to that. However, the crucial lawsuit between the SEC and Ripple is awaiting a decision over Hinman's speech. However, attorney John Deaton has hinted that the resolution over it might come by the end of this week. Hey, fingers crossed that we get a decision on that information. That's where we are on this day. I'll catch all of you on the next one.